Welcome to this introduction to using Maat, a powerful source of truth solution that can be used to describe your services and resources using custom schemas. This video will show you how to use Maat with Keycloak authorization based on roles. Maat is designed to be an extensible, reusable, and automation-ready source of truth for defining and managing your network resources and services. It provides open, standards-based APIs to access a scalable database with an extensible data model and integrated validation. It also comes with a dynamic graphical user interface and a separate notification engine. Additionally, Maat supports granular authentication and authorization, as well as detailed logging, which are available when using additional components. All these features make it an ideal choice for your automation-ready inventory. Our focus in this video will be how to use granular authorization using Keycloak as an additional component to Maat. More precisely, on how to define roles that describe who can access what in Maat. For applying authorization to content filtering, please check out the other Maat videos. On the Maat website, you can find the full information on how to install Maat with Keycloak in the Maat user guide. Here we will show you how to install Maat with Keycloak, Maat Event Listener, Maat Graphical User Interface, Greylog, and Nginx for HTTPS access. Once you have downloaded the Maat repo, you first need to modify the environment variables. You need to update the ports for resources and services, and set SSL to false in this example because it's handled by Nginx. Check the IP addresses and change them if necessary to correspond to your machine. You also need to enable Keycloak and set the level 1 authorization with roles to true. Save the file after all of these changes. The next step is to copy the installation command from the Maat user guide and run it in the terminal where you need to be located in the Docker folder of the downloaded Maat repo. You can add -d at the end to run it in background. Wait until it is finished and all containers are marked as started or healthy. In this case, the starting Keycloak configuration was made during the containers setup process by the Keycloak dev setup container. The rest of the containers should be all up and running. In the Maat documentation, in the REST API section, there is the information about authentication and authorization. Here we will focus on level 1 authorization using roles. This is the REST API methods filtering subsection. We need to create roles in the client Maat account in Keycloak and then assign users the necessary roles. To do this, go to the Keycloak panel, which should be available on port 8090. The default credentials are admin. Once you log in, it will take you to the home page. In the upper left corner, choose Maat Realm from the drop-down menu. In Clients, you will find the Maat and Maat account clients. Within the Maat account client, you will need to define the roles using the Roles tab. Create here the REST API roles. Now you can assign these roles to users in the Users menu. The admin should have full access, so you should create a new user and assign roles there. Once you create the user, in role mapping, assign the roles for this user. Here, we assign the get role to the test user. For the newly created user, you also need to define a password, which is done in Credentials. Set and save the password there. To test how the role assignment works, you can use Postman. If you're not familiar with using Postman, take a look at the Maat Keycloak authentication video. Get a new access token for the new user and copy it after successfully providing the credentials of the new user. Paste the token in the main variables under Keycloak token. Also make sure you use correct port for talking to Maat. Save your changes. Now you can move to the Maat API collection and start interacting with Maat. When you execute GET, you should see a valid response from Maat. But if you try to execute POST, Maat will complain with message 403 forbidden because this user doesn't have the POST role. You can assign this role to the user using the Keycloak GUI. Then, when you try again, the POST will work, but only after you refresh the token, because this information is part of the token itself. Of course, if now you try to delete something, it will not work because the user doesn't have the delete role. This is how Keycloak helps you implement granular authorization using roles. Thanks for watching this short introduction to using Keycloak roles-based authorization for Maat. For more details, please check out the Maat documentation.